Come have a seat here in the witness chair. You'll see there are cups and a water pitcher in case you are thirsty, and a microphone. I will ask you to make sure we can hear you. And I see you have a lot of notes in front of you, and the way it works is you can have them here, you just can't look at them until and unless one of the lawyers or myself directs you to do so.
Sure.
All right. Also, remember to completely listen to the questions. Let the lawyers finish asking the question, answer the question you're asked. Don't talk over one another. That makes it very hard on my court reporter. And also answer out loud and in words. And so nods and ahums are very hard to get a good record for. Do you understand all of that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you so much. You may begin, Mr. Farah.
Thanks. Mr. Pettingill, will you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Bernard Francis Pettingill Jr.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an economist.
What is your role in this case?
My role is very simple: to value Alex Jones' companies and net worth of Alex Jones.
Can you give me a little bit about your background and education?
Sure. I grew up in New Orleans, so I attended Loyola University undergraduate and received an undergraduate degree in 1969. I stayed 2 more years and finished a master's degree in economics, MBA, at Loyola. In 1971, I transferred in 1971 to Tulane University and finished a second master's degree in public health, an MPH, with an emphasis in medical economics. And then I was fortunate to get a scholarship to study in Manchester, England, home of Herman Hermits, if you remember that group. And I spent 4 years receiving a doctorate degree in pure economics, and I defended my dissertation at the London School of Economics. I finished that in 1977.
Dr. Pettingill, have you let me ask you this, what is your experience in evaluating the net worth of companies and individuals?
My experience is greatly detailed in the sense that I've done this all my life. I used to evaluate medical practices and dental practices. I did that for many years. But more recently, I was involved in the Monsanto case, in which I testified for many hours, and I valued Monsanto before the sale. I was recently involved in a company, 3 companies that are being questioned right now about a similar kind of claim. 3M Corporation, which is an industrial company, Berkshire Hathaway, which is a financial company, and DuPont, which is a giant company. In addition to that, embedded in this claim is a group called Koch brothers. And Koch brothers is a private entity. In fact, William Koch went on record saying he would never, ever, ever go public. So I have a random background in the sense that I've evaluated industrial, finance, and private companies.
Can you define private company?
Sure, it's a closely held company that doesn't trade in the sense that Alex Jones is the manager agent for about 9 companies that I could track from the internet. And it simply means that there are no stocks, there's no equity in the company.
Do you have experience in evaluating the worth of private companies?
Of course.
Okay. That's Koch brothers is one example, right?
A great example.
Now, have you do it all the way for litigation, or is this something that you do if people want to buy a company or something like that?
Mostly for purchasing and selling of companies. In fact, I was fortunate to evaluate practically every type of medical practice and dental practice for years. I did that, and in addition to forensic economics and testifying in cases in which big companies, small companies, private companies, public companies were involved, and I had to write reports about those companies.
So, if somebody wants to buy a practice or a business, they would hire an economist like you to try to figure out what that company's worth. Is that right?
Correct. They'd hire a business broker, economist, CPA, whoever would be knowledgeable of that company. Correct.
Are you a member of any societies or areas of economics?
Yes, sir.
And which one?
The main ones, I belong to a dozen probably, but there's nothing special about a society. You pay your dues every year, and sometimes they provide a platform for you to do a paper. But the National Association of Business Economists, National Association of Forensic Economists, American AEEFE, which is American Economic and Financial Association, and many, many others.
Okay. I want to talk about this case.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what information you had to review to determine the net worth.
Sure. I had a spreadsheet that tracked Alex Jones' funds and information and money that trickled in from September 15, 2015 until December 31st, 2018. I know that's been discussed. That number was $165 million.
Okay.
It averages to about $53.2 million a year. But that is the starting point, because we know from testimony that Alex Jones said that he can do $70 million. And to extrapolate the 53 to today's date is about a 7.1 increase per year. It's a nice, healthy increase. But if you look back at 2018, there was also a draw that Alex Jones provided to himself. It was
What is a draw?
A draw is a salary of and a payment in advance of work that could be done, or it could be just a flat payment.
Just taking money out of the company, in other words.
Correct, and we know that from the testimony of Brittany Pays that it was $18 million over a 3-year period. So if you dissect that and you say it's roughly $6 million a year, and you add that to the $53 million, then you're close to 70 million. So we know that that's the foundation, the starting point for determining the value of FSS or InfoWars.
Did you do some independent research also?
I did, yes, sir.
What did you do?
I tried my best to look at the way we could position Alex Jones companies that would fit a standard industrial classification code. There are 600 codes, but when you drill down and try to figure out where does Alex Jones fit in this, with all the things he sells and all the ways he makes money, it's not possible. We could call him a health food store because he does vitamins and nutraceuticals and makes money on a lot of products. But we can't really put a finger on what he does for a living, what he actually makes his money doing. I want to mention one more thing. I believe that Alex Jones was a revolutionary. I think he was a maverick. He was like Genghis Khan. He went into the internet when nobody was there. He was 17 years old when he sat down and had a talk with his dad, with his old man. And I can imagine that talk. His dad's a successful dentist, and he wants to become a radio star anyway. But that must have been a tough talk. So his dad helped him. In fact, his dad took out the first ad on his radio show. So his dad was 100% behind him. And believe me, Alex Jones is as much of a maverick as he is much of a outsider that he is a very successful man. He promulgated some hate speech and some misinformation, but he made a lot of money and he monetized that. My thinking about him was he didn't ride a wave. He created the wave, and he has now 3.5 million clicks. He has 100 radio stations. He is a very successful guy.
Billion clicks, right?
Correct. No question about it.
I want to talk to you about some of the companies he has. More than just Free Speech Systems, right?
Right.
I
was about to reach for the date when he incorporated, but I know what it was. I know the date.
Do you know the other businesses that Alex Jones owns?
I do, but I wrote them down in a little spreadsheet and with the dates that they went to the SOS, the Secretary of State, and chiseled those corporations, those LLCs, into stone. May I look at that sheet?
Yes, so these are notes you took in preparing your report.
Correct.
Yeah, that's fine. Don't read from them.
No. I'm just going to try to find. We know about InfoWars. We know about Free Speech Systems. He also set up many other companies that benefited him internally. But those are the two main companies, and those are the numbers we have been discussing so far today. But the other companies include, and I'll find them in a minute.
I know, I'm sorry there isn't a surface at the witness stand.
That's okay.
You're not the first witness to wish there were.
That's fine. Okay, I'll locate him. You're on. Okay, let's just start with the main one, Jones Productions. Jones Report LLC, InfoWars LLC, Prison Planet. I'm going too fast, I'm sorry. Prison Planet TV, LLC. Planet InfoWars, LLC. InfoWars Health, these are the products he sells. PLJR Holdings, and we'll discuss that I'm sure in a minute. And AEJ Austin Holdings, LLC. He also, I'm sorry, you got a question? PQPR. Sorry?
Are you familiar with PQPR?
Yes, I was just going to talk about that.
Okay.
PQPR is one of the holding companies that works in conjunction with Free Speech Systems and InfoWars to sell products, to host these shows, to do a lot of the front work that Alex Jones makes his profits from.
Are you familiar with the term shell company?
Shell company?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Yes, sir.
What's a shell company?
Technically, a shell company is a U.S. corporation that sets up shop in one of the islands, you know, or in Switzerland, or in some offshore location to prevent taxation on that profit. They also set up shop like Microsoft has done to build products. The way the shell company would apply in this case is an internal set of affiliates that Alex Jones set up, two of which include his parents. And keep in mind, the main reason, in my opinion, why the numbers don't add up, because we didn't have balance sheets, we didn't have income statements for years, we didn't have cash flow statements, we didn't have bank records. So it's almost like trying to piece this together.
Mr. Pettingill, you understand all that stuff was ordered by the court to be produced, right?
Your Honor, yeah, I do understand.
I object, Your Honor, to that question.
Overruled.
Of course. And you know how many times I've asked you for it over the last few weeks, counsel. And none of that was produced.
Right. I'm sorry, go on. You were talking about shell companies.
Sure. And in this sense, it was to take the affiliate companies and monetize those, benefit by those. In fact, there were two notes that were signed in 20...
I also object to this line of questioning as irrelevant. It's supposed to be here on net worth, not on...
Overruled.
There were two loans set up, two of these that were set up to benefit, we're talking about the shell companies. These were to benefit Alex Jones for years and years to come. He set up these two, quote, loans, so to speak. One was for $29.5 million, the other was for $20.5 million. The total had to be $53 million, one over a 30-year period and one over a 15-year period, with very low interest on payback. And that simply means that Alex Jones was obligated to make a payment on the interest annually and to pay back the first loan, which was a 30-year loan, intermittently over time, which he started to pay. FSS started to pay that loan back at the rate of $11,000 a day, but they didn't keep this up. This started back in 2021, but they didn't continue to pay that. So as a result, on the books, Alex Jones is carrying this note, this gigantic note, $53 million note, when in reality, he's using that note as a clawback to pay himself back. And very simply stated, it's a convenient way of doing business. Before 2018, his business was a non-business. His organization chart is an inverted T, which means everything flows to Alex Jones. And I agree with that. I think Alex Jones made all the major decisions, and I think Alex Jones knows where the money is. He knows where that money went, and he knows that he's going to eventually benefit by that money. One of these notes matures when Alex Jones is 74 years old. He's only got a life expectancy of 76, and he is the remainder man on the first one, meaning he can take that money after the estate is settled and put it in his pocket. The other note matures in 15 years, and he's obligated to pay an interest rate every year of over $1.9 million, which apparently hasn't been paid. If it hasn't been paid, we don't need to reconcile it.
Is the purpose of a note like this to make Free Speech Systems look like it doesn't have the same kind of net worth as it does?
Absolutely. In my opinion, you know, when you carry to the bottom line a debt of $53 million, there's no above the line write-offs and line item expenses that even come close to that. Even if you add up all of his indirect ways of paying himself, salary and advances and administrative fees and consulting fee, all that gets bundled into the cash flow and profit and loss. But when you look at a $53 million debt, that dissolves and disintegrates and wipes out anything above the line. So that's why he can say he's broke, he has no money. But we know that's not the fact.
PQPR, do you know where it's headquartered?
Sorry?
Let me ask you this. PQPR doesn't do actual business, right?
No, it has no employees, doesn't do any business, correct?
The other companies that you named, they don't do business either, correct?
Correct. Correct. I just want to make that clear. We're really talking about FSS, InfoWars, and Alex Jones himself, AHA.
When you say FSS, that's Free Speech Systems.
Correct.
I just want to make sure that you're...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're talking about the notes that PQPR that Free Speech Systems pays to PQPR.
PQPR, correct.
They started paying $11,000 a day, correct? At one point?
At one point, it was chiseled in stone that they would have to pay that, correct?
That started in September of 2021, right?
Correct.
What else happened in September of 2021 that's relevant?
In my opinion, the default judgment. Same week, September 27th.
When the court ordered that Alex Jones did what we claimed he did, he started paying $11,000 a day from Free Speech Systems into his shell corporation, PQPR. Correct?
Exactly.
From the information that you do have, the
Yes, sir.
limited information you do have, were you able to determine an annual revenue? How much money was coming into Free Speech Systems?
Yes, sir.
How much in 2021?
70 million. If we talk, sorry, let me back up. In 2021, the net revenue from the FS.
You may look at his notes too.
Yes.
Just one second.
That's fine.
I'm sorry because they
It's okay.
just.
It's all right.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have a problem with notes. I just need to know what you're looking at.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. I think the question was, in 2021, what were the... Can you phrase the question again?
What was Free Speech Systems revenue? How much money did they take in 2021?
I have to look again, I'm sorry. $64,970,861.45.
You heard Alex Jones testify that his goal in 2012 was revenues of around $70 million, and he hit it.
Correct.
Right? So we're getting close to that number, right?
Exactly.
We have the revenue numbers for 2016, 17, and 18 just from the InfoWars store, correct?
Correct.
We put up Exhibit 35 and go to the last page. And that number's on the screen there in front of you, Dr. Pettingill. Is $165,230,14.62, correct?
Correct.
And that doesn't include sales on like Amazon or eBay and things like that, right?
No. Amazon, eBay, other sources doesn't
Just
include
donations.
Donations, correct. That was another, from last year, $8 million.
So my point is, in 2015, 16, 17, 18, his revenue is pretty consistent with what it was in 2021, right?
Correct, even though we don't have records past 18.
You've heard Alex Jones say he was deplatformed in 2018, right?
Correct.
And that was some sort of financial punishment. He lost millions. Do you remember that testimony?
I remember him saying that, but the records don't reflect that.
Right. In fact, he actually is making more money after 2018, right?
Correct. And and his deplatforming wasn't because of Sandy Hook. It was because of other reasons, as you know.
Did you do research into that?
I did.
Why was he
Objection, Your
deplatformed?
Honor. This is not part of this.
Overrule.
Sure. I was able to locate an article that discussed in great detail why he was deplatformed.
Why was
Object to the hearsay, Your Honor, from his article.
So,
From your research,
okay.
let me ask the question.
All right, yeah, ask a different question.
From your research, Dr. Pettingill, in 2018, why was Alex Jones deplatformed?
He was deplatformed for the following reason.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
Sure. He was deplatformed for the following reason. And I want to just read it into the record.
No. I'm sorry. I object, Your Honor, to him reading into the record from some news article he got.
It's the quotes from the actual people that deplatformed tell why he was deplatformed from the different social media sites.
But what is the hearsay exception that allows this to come in?
He's an expert and rely on it. We're just not going to put it into evidence. We're just going to read it as under.
And did Mr. Pettingill, excuse me, sir,
That's right.
use this in developing his expert opinion today?
Well, he wanted to get into the deplatformation and see if it actually lowered his revenue and if the deplatforming was related to the Sandy Hook or something different. So this is something he did research on and relied on, formed his opinion that it's not related to Sandy Hook.
I would also, if I may, Your Honor, I remember looking at that rule when we had our last expert witness on it. Also, I think has to be a learned treatise commonly relied on by these.
Well, that exception does. I don't know if Mr. Farah is trying to point me to a different exception.
Texas Rule of Civil Procedure 703, Your Honor.
All right. So he certainly can base his opinion on the information, but this is about reading out loud in a quote to the jury. Is there an exception for that?
I do think it's under learned treatise if he says that what the.
Well, you have to go through where it came from and
Right.
all of that.
Let's just do it this way, Dr. Pettingill. I'll withdraw the question.
Sure.
Without reading
Rephrase it.
Without reading it, from your research, why was he deplatformed?
Sure. The deplatforming, in particular from Facebook, stemmed from hate speech, from language which was described people such as transgenders, Muslims, immigrants in a sort of a hateful way, it says here. And InfoWars has been accused of other, I won't even carry on and report that, but other remarks, let's leave it that way.
Yeah, inciting violence also?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay. If we look at the revenue number of, let's call it 65 million, 64.9 million.
Yes, sir.
Why is revenue important to determine the net value or net worth of a company?
Because if we are trying to sell a company, there are rules of thumb for selling companies that are privately held. It's usually 1 to 2 times the revenue. And that's a universally accepted algorithm for trying to value a company. In this case, if we take the 65 million and we assume there's a multiple of 1, which would be the floor, or the ceiling, I'm sorry, 65 million would be the floor. And we assume that the multiple of 2 for a 2-year times revenue earned would be 130 million. And that would be some range to put a number on InfoWars and free speech systems.
Now, in your expertise, would you lean more towards the 1 or the 2 times evaluation?
You know, the government and the way that the professionals who value businesses, they rely on IRS income tax returns based on paid income taxes and asset values. We don't have that. We don't know. So I don't know if I should lean toward 1 as the floor or 2 or 2 toward the ceiling. It's probably somewhere in between.
He's been on the air for a long time, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
We know from at least 2016 through 2021, his revenue stayed relatively the same, correct?
Correct. 50 plus million a year, correct.
I'm sorry?
50 plus million a year.
You know he has a loyal following, correct?
He has a rabid following, correct.
Would those factors help you lean closer to the 2 times revenue?
It would. And there are other reasons for that. Because he has an ongoing concern. He has a very successful practice, very successful business, and he has these rabid followers. He, for the most part, is the key man of this organization. If he had to buy insurance on himself, I don't even know what value he would put on himself. It would be in billions, probably. So I think for that reason, we can assume it's closer to 2.
Okay. And if it was 2, that would be $130 million would be the net worth of Free Speech Systems.
Correct. Minimum.
You say minimum because we don't know all the revenue streams.
We don't know Amazon, we don't know eBay, we don't know all the other sources, we don't know any of the other ad revenue he gets. You know, with all those clicks, and I don't know this for a fact, but with all the clicks from the...
Your Honor, witness just said he doesn't know this for a fact. I don't know why he would testify to it.
He's saying what the revenue streams could be without saying a number. We don't have the number.
Calls for speculation.
Okay. I actually don't think I can address that until I know what he's going to say. So I think I have to hear it.
Right.
You're an expert. You're here testifying as an expert. That means you get to tell us opinions, which other witnesses don't get to do. But we also need to know what those opinions are based on. So just consider that as you testify.
With respect to the ad revenue, we don't know how much he makes from ads. Typically, someone makes money from ads because if they can click and direct someone to a website and purchase products, they get paid a commission on that. That's how many of these web guys make money. So we don't know the numbers, we don't have spreadsheets on that, but we know it's an unknown, and if you just do the math on the millions of clicks that he gets, then technically speaking, he's making money from it.
Let's turn to the net worth of Alex Jones.
Sure.
Tell me what you did. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Tell me what you did to try to determine the net worth of Alex Jones.
Sure. Alex Jones withdrew $61.9 billion in 2020. I don't know if that was a one-time withdrawal or it was accrued pay over many years. There's been discussion that it was over a 10-year payout. It doesn't matter. It's $61.9 million. And that number represents, in my opinion, a value of Alex Jones' net worth. He's got some money put in a bank account somewhere. He had 4 accounts we know of at Security Bank, but we don't know what's going into that account. We don't know how much money was apportioned to the account, and we don't know when the money was put into the account. But we know that there is a statement saying $61.9 million was withdrawn and paid to Alex Jones.
From Free Speech Systems?
Correct.
In 2021?
Correct. 2021.
The same year the default judgment was rendered?
Correct.
Do you have any records of other money being pulled out of Free Speech System and given to Alex Jones in this time frame?
I do. From the testimony of the notes from the Brittany Pays, she mentioned that another $18 million was taken out before this year, before this 61.9 million figure. It was $18 million over a 3-year period, 2015 to 2018, $18 million.
So that totals about $70 million?
If you add the 6 per year to the 53, you get 60 million, but close to 70. And as I said before, there's been testimony that is made this year on track, 2021, 70 million.
Okay. Does that help you determine the net worth of Alex Jones?
Yes, sir.
What did you come up with in that opinion?
Same approach to his net worth that I took to valuing the companies would be 1 to 2 times his net worth. And you can do the math on that.
So 70 to 140 million?
Correct.
Yeah, 140.
Correct. And those are very simple numbers. And there's no economics, there's no present value. Those numbers speak for themselves.
So if we look at the final number on the high end, that is about $270 million for the net worth of Alex Jones and Free Speech Systems.
Correct.
And the low end, the low range of that, if it was just one, would be $135 million?
Correct.
Are all your opinions given today to a reasonable degree of economic probability?
Yes, sir. Correct.
I don't have any more questions, but I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Reno.